There you go.
Awesome. Can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Great. Well, welcome everybody to the OWASP Austin Crypto Party. Thank you all for joining us. I'm Josh Sokol. I'm the CEO and founder of SimpleRisk. I used to run the information security program over at National Instruments, now Emerson Business Test and Measurement, I think you said. I've been involved with the OWASP Austin chapter for a long time and even served on the OWASP Foundation Global Board for a bit. I first learned about crypto parties, probably 2014 timeframe, something like that. It was really interesting. I'd heard about it as a result of Snowden. Snowden basically met back in 2012. He had a small art space behind a furniture store in Hawaii, and he started talking about how to keep privacy, and he shared it with other people in that area. And so he was organizing these crypto parties and teaching Hawaii residents how to encrypt hard drives and how to use the internet anonymously. We've been doing these crypto parties for a while now, basically since 2015. That was our first one. We did skip a year in 2017. Don't know why, but this is crypto party number 11. So pretty cool. I will say that we need more people to participate in the crypto parties. These aren't really meant for me to present to you. They're meant for you to present to you. It's a movement for the people. And so if you guys look at this and go, man, this would be a really good thing to present on, stick it in your back pocket. And when we send out the note next year, say, yes, I'd like to present on this. Crypto Party is supposed to be a decentralized movement. There's events that happen all over the world, and the goal is to basically pass on knowledge about how to protect yourself and your friends and your family in the digital space. So we're talking encrypted communication, how to prevent yourself from being tracked while online, and general security advice about computers and smartphones. Now, every year I go through and I look at articles over the past year as to why we should do this. Why is data privacy and data security important? And so I don't have one for every month. I certainly could. I could probably have 10 for every month. But I try and select a few of these that kind of stick out to me. The first article that I found was back in January 2025, where EU policymakers have been pushing legislation since 2022 for every digital platform, Facebook, Signal, Snapchat, WhatsApp, cloud, online gaming, to scan user communication. They stated that the reason is to detect and report the sharing of child sexual abuse material on digital platforms and in their users' private chats. But obviously, if they're scanning every single message, that's a privacy issue. We move on and we talk about in March 2025, Apple has this legal challenge around data protection that's coming from the UK government. The UK government basically issued a technical capability notice under their Investigatory Powers Act, and it required Apple to assist law enforcement in providing evidence. It focuses on giving the UK the ability to access personal data content stored by Apple's Advanced Data Protection Service via a backdoor, essentially. The UK government wants a backdoor to read all of the data, all the messages that are in this Apple platform. By the way, the UK government also lost a legal battle to withhold the details of this case from the public. They said that the revealing the existence of this claim, as well as the names of the parties involved, would be damaging to national security. So not only do they want to see all your data, or in the UK data, but they also don't want you to know that they're doing that. April 2025, 23andMe, there was a big breach. It caused 23andMe to essentially go bankrupt, file Chapter 11, and the genetic data of 15 million users is or was up for sale through these bankruptcy proceedings. And interest came from all sorts of areas of business. You had everyone from medical researchers. I think we could all see why that could be a net positive to things like marketers, scammers, spooks, authoritarians. And we could see how that would be very negative. So interesting kind of thing that came out of this is that people didn't realize when they signed up for 23andMe, they thought they were getting some genetic testing that would show who they are, where they're from, things like that. They didn't realize that their data is also the product that 23andMe is selling to other companies. So again, data privacy incredibly important here. Back in May 2025, Ireland's Data Protection Commission found that the Chinese-owned video sharing app breached GDPR by not addressing whether European Economic Area data sent to China would be shielded from the country's authorities. I think most of you guys know China's National Intelligence Law of 2017 basically says all organizations and citizens shall, quote, support, assist, and cooperate with national intelligence efforts. So there was this big thing about whether that means that China is or is not sharing data, or TikTok is or is not sharing data with the Chinese government, which would be a breach of GDPR. Then in June 2025, the U.S. Supreme Court lifted an injunction issued by a federal district court judge that writing that the Social Security Agency may proceed to grant members of the Doge scheme access to the agency records in question, or in order for those members to do their work. So basically, you have the Social Security Administration. They have all this data about the people that are collecting Social Security and things like that, and who Social Security numbers, where they live, birth dates, things like that. And the Doge team wanted access to those records, and a judge actually granted them access. Then we have July. This was a data breach of a popular women-only dating safety app. It was called T, and it let users compare notes about men to see if they're dating the same person or if there were red flags to share. Kind of interesting. But some dudes in 4chan didn't really like that. They hacked the company, hacked their website, and this breach included an estimated 72,000 images with about 13,000 verification photos and photos of government IDs, as well as more than 1 million private messages. In September, we had an accidental leak by a UK Ministry of Defense official. This actually happened back in 2022, but it exposed the details of 18,700 Afghans who had worked with or for the British government. That obviously puts them at risk for retribution, things like that. And this led to another article, which was in October, which is of the 231 respondents of the affected people in Afghanistan, at least 49 of them, so almost 20%, responded that either a family member or a colleague had been killed as a result of the data breach. So again, when we're talking about the importance of data privacy and data security, like this is life and death. And then finally, January 2026, people were using Grok to strip clothing off people in images. They basically send Grok an image, say, remove the clothes, make this nude, whatever. And it's actually raised a lot of questions about the AI technology and whether it's legal to produce these images without the subject's consent. So some deep thoughts on this. When I first started doing these crypto parties, I had trouble finding enough interesting articles about privacy, and now I've got enough to do one every single month and still leaving a ton of really good articles out. So if you're interested, check out theguardian.com. They have tons of great examples. Some deeper thoughts. While I'm still seeing a tremendous amount of news involving data breaches, intrusions on privacy, I'm also seeing a bunch of news on pushback of the technologies and laws to further data privacy. So it seems like society is kind of at crossroads, and time will tell where society ultimately lands on this. Privacy is the room in which ideas develop. It's where we reflect on the ideas. And it's not a physical room, it's digital as well. But governments and corporations don't respect that. We do. And that's why we're here, Crypto Party. So the goal here is we want to teach you, we're not trying to teach you everything there is to know about computer and internet security. Can't do that in one meeting. Probably can't do that in a lifetime, honestly. But we want to tear down the mental walls, the things that prohibit people to even think about these topics or pick them up as they occur throughout their lives. Newspaper articles, blog posts, educational pictures, memes, things like that. There's plenty of information about computer and internet security out there, and a lot of people don't even consider themselves able to process it. They don't even know where to start. So crypto parties are meant to be low level. They're meant to be entry level so that anybody out there can get into this. Take away the fear of the cryptic and technical things, so we can continue to educate ourselves and other people. So with that, today's agenda, I just gave the introduction, and I'm going to hand it off to Shwetha about to talk to you guys about why websites leak sensitive data.
Thank you. Let me go ahead and share my screen.
Yeah.
Okay. You should be able to see my screen.
Are you guys seeing it? I got a black screen right now.
Black.
There
Yeah.
we
Oh,
go.
there it
Now it
goes.
came up.
I
Now
see it.
it's up.
Okay. Should be good now. Okay. Thank you for the introduction, Josh. So today I'll be talking about why websites leak sensitive data, and how exposure can be reduced. So this will be a short practical session focused on everyday website behavior and simple steps you can apply immediately to improve your online privacy. So let's start with why this happens. Most leaks happen quietly during normal and everyday interactions with websites and online tools. They happen when we sign up for accounts, fill out forms, and click buttons, or simply browse the web. Websites are designed to collect data by default. Forms collect information, browsers store the data, and tracking tools observe behavior, and systems log activity. None of this is usual. It's how modern websites function. The issue is not that these systems exist, the issue is that they often collect more data than necessary, keeping it longer than expected, and share it more broadly than users realize. In many cases, there is no malicious intent. Developers are just trying to improve usability, gather analytics, or personalize experiences. But each of these small design choices create another place where sensitive data can be exposed. Over time, these small exposures add up, and a name here, an email there, a tracking identifier in the background, together they form a detailed digital footprint. This talk is about understanding how these exposures happen and learning how to reduce them in practical and realistic ways. The goal today is to help you recognize where data leaks occur and to give you a clear steps that you can immediately apply. Take a back a bit more control over your online privacy. Let me give you an example. Imagine signing up for a basic newsletter. The form asks you for your name, email, which feels reasonable. But behind the scenes, the page also loads tracking scripts, sets multiple cookies, and records how long you have stayed on the page and what you have clicked. Now imagine doing that across dozens of websites over time. Each interaction feels harmless on its own, but together they create a detailed picture of your habits, your interest, as well as your identity. Um, in this scenario, no one was hacked. Nothing actually felt unsafe, and yet sensitive data was still exposed and shared without most people ever noticing. This is how data exposure usually happens. So now that we have discussed about why sensitive data exposure happens, let's look at more closely at common ways personal data is exposed during normal website usage. One of the most frequent causes is overcollection. So, websites often request more information than is strictly necessary to deliver a service. This might include like full names, phone numbers, or other personal details like date of birth, even when a simple identifier would be enough. Once submitted, this data is typically stored logged and retained for long periods of time. Another major source of exposures come from third-party tools. Many websites rely on analytic platforms, advertising services, or embedded widgets to understand user behavior or improve their functionality. These tools can automatically collect interaction data in the background, often without users being fully aware of it. Cookies and browser storage also contribute to exposure. They also remember sessions and preferences, but they can also persist across visits and create long lived identifiers tied to a user's activity. Let me return to the example I mentioned earlier. Imagine logging into a website and then copying the URL page to send to someone for help. That URL might contain a unique identifier like an email address or the name of a person associated with your account or your session. If that link is shared and saved in a chat or stored in a system log, personal data has now been exposed, even though no one was hacked or nothing unusual happened. This is a common pattern. Exposure occurs as a side effect of a normal feature working exactly as designed. Each individual data point may seem harmless, but over time, these small exposures accumulate and form detailed digital footprint trail that users never intended to create. In the sample screenshot I've inserted here, this is from a random website where you can see that date of birth is being asked before an account is being created. So next time you come across these forms or additional personal information being asked, ask yourself if this information is required prior to creating an account. Is it really required for the purpose you are accessing the site? Most data exposure happens quietly in places we do not think. Okay, let's see. Let me just go back in here. Okay. At this point, you might be wondering why these small exposures really matter. After all, each individual data point may seem insignificant on its own. An email address here, a session identifier there. None of it feels especially sensitive in isolation. The issue begins with what happens after the data is collected. Personal data often persists much longer than users expect. It may be stored indefinitely, copied into backups, um, logged for troubleshooting, or retained longer after its original purpose has even ended. Even when a user believes their interaction is finished, the data often continues to exist quietly in the background. So, once the data exists, it is rarely confined to a single system. It is frequently shared across internal platforms, vendors, and service providers as part of normal business operations. Even if website itself is well intentioned and security conscious, the data may still pass through multiple organizations, tools, and environments, each with its own controls and risks. Over time, different pieces of information can be put together and correlated. A name collected in one place and an identifier captured elsewhere, and a few behavioral signals from tracking tools can be enough to build a surprisingly detailed profile of an individual. This correlation often happens automatically without human interaction or involvement, and usually without the user being aware that it is taking place. This leads to the most important issue, loss of control. Users typically have very limited visibility into where their data goes, how long it takes, or ultimately who has access to it. Even actions like logging out, clearing cookies, and deleting an account do not always remove data that has already been shared, duplicated, or archived elsewhere. And while none of this requires a breach to be harmful, it increases risk over time. The more data that exists, the more places it lives, the greater the number of opportunities for misuse, accidental exposure, or even unauthorized access in the future. Risk grows quietly, often unnoticed, until something goes wrong. This is why reducing data exposure early is very important. Preventing unnecessary collection, limiting retention, and reducing sharing are often far more effective than trying to clean up or secure data after it has already been spread across multiple systems. Once the data has been spread, control is extremely difficult to recover. So, the good news with all of this stuff happening in here is that reducing data exposure does not require advanced technical knowledge or drastic changes in the behavior. Small intentional actions can significantly reduce how much personal data is collected and being shared. One of the simplest and more effective ways is to share only what is required when you're browsing or online, right? When you're filling out forms, many fields are optional. You want to pay attention to that. Skipping unnecessary fields limits how much personal data is being stored and retained in the first place. Browser settings also play an important role. Reviewing and limiting permissions such as access to a location, camera, or saved sessions can prevent data from being collected automatically. So, clearing cookies periodically or even browser features that limit tracking can further reduce the exposure. In the screenshot that you see here, um, in a browser setting, most modern browsers yet have the ability to have the setting in place, yet many people never change it. Enabling enhanced tracking protection reduces how much of your activity is being collected across websites without affecting normal usage browsing. Another helpful practice is separating context using different browsers or browser profiles for work and personal activities and sensitive tasks reduces the ability for data to be linked across different areas of your life. This simple separation can significantly limit cross site tracking and correlation. It's also important to be mindful of third party tools and extensions. While many are useful, um, each additional tool introduces another place where data may be collected or shared. Regularly reviewing which extensions you have and integrations are truly necessary to reduce unnecessary exposure. None of these steps, even if followed correctly, eliminate all risk, and that's not the goal. But the goal is to reduce the amount of data that is being collected by default and to limit how far that data spreads over time. By making few small changes today, we can meaningfully shrink our digital footprint and regain some control over your online privacy. So, so the key takeaways are that to wrap up, I want to leave with a few key ideas to take away from today's discussion. First, most privacy leaks are not the result of sophisticated attacks. They happen because everyday design choices and normal online behavior. Understanding this helps shift our focus from fear to being aware. Second is that data exposure often happens quietly and incrementally. A piece of the information shared here and then stored there may not feel important at the time, but together they can create a detailed digital footprint. Third is once the data is collected, shared, and users often lose control over it, that loss of control, not just breaches, is the core of privacy risk. Good news is that privacy is not all or nothing goal. You don't need to eliminate all risk to make a meaningful improvement. Small, intentional actions like sharing less data, adjusting browser settings, or separating online contents can significantly reduce long term exposure. I encourage everyone to start with just one change today. Choose one habit to adjust, one particular setting to review frequently, or one piece of information to stop sharing unnecessarily. Over time, these small decisions add up to meaningful protection. Privacy is not about hiding or withdrawing from intent, it's about being intentional and informed and in control of what you share. Um, with that, I would like to thank you for your time and
Awesome.
hand
Thank
it
you
over
so
to
much.
you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Up next is Karen talking about KeyPass.
Hello,
Hey,
can you hear me?
we can hear you. I don't
Okay.
see anything yet. Are you presenting?
Yes, let me share my screen.
Yeah.
Let me try share screen. Share. Hold on. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. I have 15 minutes.
Yeah, something like that.
Oh, 10 minutes. I'm going to put a timer, so I want to make sure we still have time for you, Josh.
Appreciate that.
Okay, so we are going to talk about KeyPass, and some of you probably already know it, but I guess not everyone have know it. So KeyPass is a password safe. Again, there are many password managers. We call password manager. There are many password managers. There are online, there are offline. And KeyPass is widely considered superior for users who prioritize maximum security, privacy, and control. My colleagues and I have used the KeyPass for over 20 years. I also want to note I have not personally compared KeyPass with other password manager, and KeyPass is what we use. So yeah. You can look at this and compare with others. Okay, so I don't need to say why do we need a password manager, right? And we all have too many passwords to remember, dozens and hundreds of passwords, and they all must be long numbers, letters, symbols, updated regularly. And not only we have too many of them, and too many bad guys who wants to get them. And every year there are lots of, I did not collect the statistics, but we know every year there are lots of breaches, and which I just want to make sure. Do you see my screen well? Hello?
Yeah, looks good, Karen.
Yes, we see your PowerPoint.
Okay, because I can't tell. Okay, and so KeyPass. Okay, now many guys want to get them, right? And also there are some KeyPass password managers. For example, LastPass is also a popular one. It's an online one, and it's in 2022. LastPass itself had security breaches. So the KeyPass is a local password manager. It's open source, it's free. It's created by Dominic Rachel it's released in 2003, so it's been over 20 years. It stores password encrypted locally on your device using strong encryptions such as AES 256. Because it's local, also eliminate the risk of cloud-based data breaches. So I'm going to, okay. So here is the website and KeyPass info. There you can download KeyPass. There, as you can see, there are two sets of KeyPass. There's KeyPass 2.x and the KeyPass 1.x. So the 2.x is a newer version, and yeah, it's 2, right, instead of 1. It requires Microsoft .NET framework, and KeyPass 1x does not require this framework. Some new features are added to KeyPass 2, and the KeyPass 1 is more of in the maintenance mode, but they still have regular updates to enhance its security. Personally, I have been, because I've used it for over 20 years and it's continued updates, I've been using the KeyPass 1, which is simpler. And do not know why it's not, okay, yeah. Okay, so this is the download site. You can download as an installer or as a portable, as a zip, and then you can run it. And on the left-hand side, there are many helps. You can look at it. And there are feature differences between between 1 and 2. And also the security-wise, we can see there are some differences. There are detailed comparison. You can go to this conference page and website to see detailed comparisons. But in general, from the encryption perspective, they both use AES 256. On KeePass 2, there's an option use char. And for integrity, KeePass 1 has SHA-256 hash of the plain text, and KeePass 2 use HMAC hash of the ciphertext. For the encryption key, they are generated the same way based on the master key, and then they use a key derivation function. They use similar one and also has the option to use Argon 2. When, as we saw here, you can download, you can also verify the integrity of the download. As here, as you see, for each version, you can see details of the hash functions and for KeePass 2 also hash functions and the signature. Yeah. So you can verify, for example, if you're on Windows, you can verify the hash using CertUtil. If you're on Mac, you can use SHA-SUM or OpenSSL. Okay, so these are the basics. I think well, let me do the demo. That will be more helpful. Let me exit this. Okay. So after you download, especially if you download the zip file, and you can just run it. So it'll be KeePass XE, and then you run it. When we first start, it's look like this. Okay, and there are different options. There are actually many options you can have. And let's see, we just start. We want to create a new KeePass database. And it will say, okay, we'll create a database. It's important you remember where you store the database and also create a backup, because here, that's all your password will be stored. We say, okay. So the first thing it asks us to do is to set a master key. And you can type here and you can view, and it also show you the security strengths. This master key is used to derive encryption key with additional random factors. So let's create one. Okay. So as you see, the longer you type, the higher the security strengths. And right now it's 85 bits security strengths. Let me look at the timer. So you can also see it. I'm just type the arbitrary one. In practice, you may want more randomness here. And you can also have another key file. And if we have time, we'll talk about it. Otherwise, you can take a look. And you can help to generate a key file. And if you store it in a separate device, for example, you store it on a USB token, that will provide a two-factor authentication. Okay, you need to retype. Okay, I hope I typed it correctly. Okay, so we set it up. It has some folders, some default folders you can group. You can also add your own groups. They're called groups. You see, you can add your own, you can delete, and so on and so forth. Let's start with, let's see. We want to create an account at ChatGPT. What you do, you copy this, and you add an entry. Okay, and we put the URL here. We'll say, okay. As when we try to sign up something, it will ask, okay, we'll try to sign up. Let's see, we add a username. Okay, so to remember it, we also remember it here. We remember our username. Get back here. It will ask us for a password, right? And in KeePass, it generates a default password for you. Let's see here. We can see the password. It's auto-generated. And you can also, use my whatever you want to do. You can also do this. And you don't have to, again, you don't have to take the default. You can generate as well. And we can have criteria. We use uppercase, lowercase, the length. You can choose more length. The default is 20. Let's just, for now, we take it. And you can add special characters. And you generate, it will generate password for you. You can keep generating. And here, it will show the security strengths. You see here, even though only 20 characters, the strength is very high, okay? And what I will do is I will generate one and then add special characters. Okay, you can do it yourself as well. Let's see, we accept. Now we can copy this. We can copy it here. Now we can continue. I'm not going to continue because I'm not going to, I already have the account. Here, when you can also add notes. For example, sometimes you have some kind of question answers, right? And you can record it here and some other information related to the site. Okay, so we created it. You can add all the others. And then because it's brand new, we'll save it. Let's give it a name. Okay. So we saved it. Then we can exit. Okay. Don't want this. Now, we have a database. We want to use it, right? We restart it. Okay. If we remember the password here, password. Okay. I think. Yeah, I hope I'm typed it right. Okay, I remembered it. Yeah, if somebody behind you, behind your shoulder, you're not going to show it, right? And here I'm just no one behind me, and I know I'm showing you that's not my real password, but it's showing you you can change it, right? So now we already have this entry. You want to go back to ChatGPT. What you can do. Here, there are some shortcuts, and also you can also go directly to ChatGPT. And so we can use shortcut. Okay. So we can go log in here. We can go back to KeePass. Here we have, if we have Control B, you can also just copy it because I'm familiar with it.
Hey, Karen, 30 seconds.
I typed it twice.
30 seconds. Wrap it up.
Oh, okay. 30 seconds. And So you copy this over, and again, you can copy the password. You can copy the password, and that will allow you to log in. I just want to quickly mention one thing. And you set a password. You can also change your password here. Okay, time is up. You can change it up by creating a key file. Okay, my time is up. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Karen.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
You're
Go
welcome.
ahead
How
and
do I release the control?
I think you can just go stop sharing.
Um, are you? Oh, stop share here.
There's the current share too. There we go.
Okay.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Karen. Appreciate it. All right.
You're
So
welcome.
with the little bit of time that we have left here, a couple things. First off, I was going to do a presentation when we were going to be in person on BitChat. We were all going to connect to it. It was going to be amazing. And then with us not being in person anymore, I'm just going to make a mention of it. BitChat is a decentralized peer-to-peer messaging app. It's brand new. It was written by Jack Dorsey, who's the founder of Twitter. And it's really cool. It's got local Bluetooth mesh networks, so you don't even have to have a cell connection in order to use it. It also has internet-based Nostr protocol for global reach. No accounts, no phone numbers, no central servers. It's basically just a side group chat. Lots of stuff. Really cool architecture, but it's designed for privacy in mind. So you can go bitchat.free. There's a GitHub for it as well if you want to look at the code and whatnot. With that said, please check it out. I think this actually does a really good job of building on the presentation from Shwetha. It's opting out of data brokers. So when these guys get your data, how do you opt out? How do you regain your privacy? This is actually a presentation I was going to present last year, and then we ran out of time. So data brokers are companies that collect, analyze, and sell your personal data. This might be from like free to play games and apps because it's not really free, loyalty cards, it might come from your purchase history, social media profiles, any public information that's available. These data brokers take it and then they sell it. They might sell it to a company that's researching people with depression and substance abuse. They might sell it to somebody who's selling drugs for depression and substance abuse, right? People who recently got married, give me a list of everybody who recently got divorced because I'm a lawyer or whatever, right? So data brokers are basically taking all this data and then figuring out who and how to sell it. Um, what kind of information do they collect? Names, addresses, phone numbers, social media profiles, your browsing habits, your purchase history. They might even have sensitive data like health or financial information. When it comes to who is collecting this data, there's a bunch of common examples. Axiom, Experian, Spokeo, LexisNexis, Intellius, White Pages, MyLife. You can see data brokers. There's over 4,000 data broker companies worldwide. About 1.4 thousand of them are leading brands. So they're basically selling information from these loyalty cards that you have. 80% of US email addresses are on file. Axiom, which is one of the largest data brokers, has 23,000 servers. They're collecting and analyzing consumer data. They have data on 500 million consumers worldwide and 3,000 data points per person. Now, I don't think any of us here could even list 500 or 3,000 data points about ourselves. These guys have that on average. 38% of employed Americans' pay stubs information is available on Equifax. So the data is out there, right? And so risks with this data include identity theft, targeted scams, and loss of digital control. Now, when we're talking about the data and what it's actually worth, to a data broker, this is a $200 billion industry. It's a massive industry. The price for a list of 1,000 people with health conditions. So if I just wanted to say, give me a list of everybody with anorexia, give me a list of everybody with substance abuse, 1,000 people is 79 bucks. The average value of one email address over time is $89. That might be higher for travel, lower for retail, right? The industry, it depends, but average price is $89 for somebody's email address. Uh, On the consumer side, 43% of data brokers allow consumers to opt out for free. So you should be thinking, oh, well, if I can opt out, I really should do that, right? Because you don't want your data to be sold. Um, for $8 per month, DataCoop paid consumers for access to their social media accounts and credit card transaction data. That's nuts. People were willing to basically for $8 a month give out their access to this information. And $99 is the cost per year to have your data kept out of databases by a company called Reputation.com. They'll basically handle all this for you. So if you don't want to mess with it, go Reputation.com and they'll help you with it. That said, if you do want to opt out, the first thing is know your rights. So in some regions like California, you have CCPA. In Europe, you have GDPR. They allow you to request data removal, point blank. Number two, identify the data brokers. So use resources like Privacy Rights Clearinghouse or SayMine. You find the brokers that are holding onto your data. And then once you know who they are, you can submit an opt-out request. So you go to their website, you follow the opt-out instructions, you get out of that. There are automated tools to help you with this. There's tools like Incogni, Delete Me, and Jumbo Privacy. They'll help you streamline the process. And then once you do that, it only takes a little bit for you to get back into the system. So set reminders every 6 months, 12 months, whatever, repeat the process. You want to go after the new brokers, you want to go after any new information that went out there. Now, when it comes to automated versus manual opt-out, manual is time consuming. It is free, which is the good thing, but requires effort for every single broker that you're going and doing this for. On the automated side, this is faster. It's obviously not free. It's a paid service, but they can handle multiple different brokers at once. So I mentioned Incogni earlier. It's an automated data broker opt-out paid service. Jumbo Privacy app will help you track where your data is and help you remove it. And then Delete Me is an annual fee, but it helps to opt out of major data brokers. So practical tips for data privacy: limit your data sharing, avoid unnecessary data sharing. So that means those surveys that's like, asking you about your job, what things you're looking into, whatever, that goes straight into these databases and gets sold. Loyalty programs, things like contests. Anytime you put your data in there and they're like, you could win, blah, 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 remember you are the product. Use privacy tools, ad blockers, anti-tracking extensions, privacy-focused browsers, and then burner information. Use alias email accounts, secondary phone numbers for anything that's not essential. So challenges and realities, time and effort, right? Many brokers have these complex, varied opt-out processes. There is no standard, so it can be difficult to figure out where to go to opt out and then how to opt out. Sometimes the removal is incomplete. Some only suppress data instead of actually deleting it. That sucks. And then obviously the ongoing effort. New brokers emerge, which requires regular action. That's why the 6 to 12 months. So call to action here. Start action. You can take action today. Start with a single opt-out request or test an automated tool. So go to SayMine, Privacy Clearinghouse, Incogni, whatever. You can download that or go to the website and figure out who has your data and then see if you can opt out. That's a very small step that you can take today to do that. So that's it for my presentation. Real quick mention, privacy charities. These are people that are doing amazing work for us on behalf of people, helping to make the world a better place with respect to data privacy and security. Electronic Frontier Foundation, they're awesome. They've been around since 1990 and they're helping to champion privacy, free expression, and innovation. And they're actually suing people that are purveying that kind of thing, in addition to things like policy analysis, grassroots activism, and whatnot. And then, of course, the American Civil Liberties Union, they've been around for almost 100 years, and they're helping to preserve individual rights and liberties that are guaranteed by the Constitution. So with that, I just want to thank you guys for coming. Really appreciate it. Hopefully you learned something today. And yeah, take care, everybody. Stay safe.